Courage to take independent and firm decisions by Taneja. The world in which we live is not primarily determined by external conditions and circumstances. Rather, it is determined by the thoughts constantly occupy our minds, says Norman Vincent Peale. And the sage of Concord, Raphael Emerson, who agrees. A man, he says, is a man is what he thinks about all day long. Thought possesses thought possesses dynamic power that can take concrete shapes. You can actually think yourself into or out of situation. You can render yourself weak and helpless with your negative thoughts. And by the same token, you can make yourself strong and courageous by the use of powerful positive thoughts. One can derive inspiration from the examples of men who had shown tremendous courage even when being placed in extremely adverse situations. They stood undoubted like a rock, never compromised with their principles. At the age of 72, Socrates, who forced to drink the hemlocks at the Athens just because his spiritual ideas were not in consonance with those of the orthodox elements of Greek society, he accused of creating negative thoughts in the minds of youth of Athens against the tutelary deities of the state. Being a fearless man, he courageously faced the tyranny unleashed by the judge who condemned him to death. His last word to the judge were, "It is now time to depart. It is now time that we depart. I to die, you to live, but which had the better destiny is unknown to all, except to, except to God." When Martin Luther declared himself against the Pope, all the hell broke loose and people were after his blood. He was finally urged by the emperor to retract his vigilant defense before the authorities from one of the most magnificent chapters in history. He said firmly, "Sure, unless I am convinced of my error by the testimony of scriptures or by manifest evidence, I can't and will not retract, for we must never act contrary to our conscience. Such is my profession of faith, and you must expect none of from me." In everyday life also, we need to display courage to be sincere in your dealing with people, courage to resist all sort of temptation, courage to adhere to the path of truth and righteousness, courage to be what one really is and not to have tensions of being what one is not. Above all, courage to earn one's livelihood through fair means and not through corrupt practices. In the opinion of Simon Smiles, intellectual in intellectual integrity is one of the important prerequisites for independence and self-reliance of the character. A great deal of the unhappiness in the world, he says, is owing of fickleness of mind and indecision of purpose, in other words, to lack of courage. He writes, "Many are the vigilant purposes formed that end merely in words, deeds indeed that are never done, designs projected that are never begun, and all for want of a little courageous decision." In the new year, we could resolve to exercise the power of our minds and move towards our goal with full faith and confidence in our abilities and decisions. And he who results upon decisions, sorry, and he who results upon doing things by the very resolution upon scale the barriers to it and secure its achievement achievement, says Samili. Sacred space. Flow of the river. The flow of a river is a model of courage that can keep me going, carry me through the bad places, the bad times. A courage that is compliant by choice and uses force only when compelled, always seeking the best, easiest way, but if not finding any easy way, still always going on.